happens.
The first 16 competitors for the Superhero Showdown Bracket 2.0 are ready to be announced.
They are. I tried to get a bit more creative with my picks.
You did. There was
A
one
lot of
person
Googling.
that you chose that at first I thought was a spelling mistake from you because I didn't even know them. But then a little bit of Googling confirmed that it was in fact an actual character and not a typo.
I did a mix of characters that I know of, and then tried to do some Googling and find some unique ones.
Yeah. We'll discuss our picks in a minute, but let's get into the picks off the rip.
Okay.
Would you like to start, Mr. Zontal, with your first two?
With my Marvel heroes.
Yep.
So, just to preface, we will go through our heroes and villains for Marvel, then DC. And I'm sure we'll flip back and forth. Those that have watched Superhero Showdown know how this kind of works. The bracket, we did heroes side, villain side. We picked them against each other. So that's how we pick them, is off those things. So I kept it pretty simple. I made sure there was no overlaps from the last bracket. Keep it fresh. But my first Marvel hero pick was Ant-Man, which I ended up going with comic version. I almost prefaced it as MCU version.
Out of curiosity, which Ant-Man? Hank Pym or Scott Lang comic?
Oh, Scott Lang is what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
That's fine.
That's why I was like, do I do MCU version or...
Yeah, that's fine.
Which is pretty standard. I feel like everyone knows Ant-Man. We haven't made use of Ant-Man yet. So I was like...
No, we haven't. Which is actually a bit of a surprise, bearing in mind how big a character is these days.
And then my other Marvel hero, which I had to double check he was a hero.
Because I would have considered him a bit of an anti-hero, but that he can definitely...
Yeah, I just felt like he fell more on the hero side.
Yeah, for sure.
I went with Beta Ray Bill, who I don't know a whole lot of, but I know of through people talking about wanting to see him in MCU, and if he would show up with 4 films.
Well, there was a rumor that Christian Bale was going to play Beta Ray Bill in...
Yeah, that's probably...
in the day.
And didn't he... isn't there like a statue on Sakaar or something that looks like Beta Ray Bill? Some people talked about. So yeah, that's my second Marvel hero pick.
Awesome. So my Marvel heroes were a little bit of the new, a little bit of the old. So I chose SpiderMan, but not just any SpiderMan. Miles Morales Spider-Man, also from the comics. Up on my comic shelf there, I've had Marvel Miles comic sitting there for a while, and I mean I'll show you guys in a minute, but I had a huge big boy arrive the other day, and as a result of that I've gone, before I'm allowed to read that I need to catch up on some of the ones that I've had for a while that I haven't read, including my Miles book, and reading that I've fallen even more character. So as he was on the mind, I threw him in.
Nice.
And next we have a little bit of the classic Daredevil, Matthew Murdock, the Devil of Hell's Kitchen. I like these picks. I think they can add a little bit of difference to the bracket. I don't think they're so strong that they're going to cakewalk people, but they're both pretty fucking strong heroes who are not to be taken lightly.
Yeah. Definitely. Daredevil was one I'd considered and might have ended up in my second set of picks if we hadn't picked him here. But I had a feeling with all the talk of Daredevil we've had recently, it was like he was going to show up in the bracket.
Yeah. Just so we're clear here, Hori picks his ones first.
Because I'm the noob.
Because I have a wider knowledge, it'd be easier for me to find a character that he hasn't picked.
Otherwise, Connor will pick all the ones I know, and I'll be sat on Google like, who's this?
Yeah. And as a result, Hori might come up with someone super obscure, like one of his villain picks, that I'm like, does that character even fucking exist? Instead of falling in my breadth of knowledge, he has to go even wider.
I go to Google and find the cool sounding ones.
Hori Google's most obscure Marvel hero from
Do you want to know what?
1903.
Do you want to know what I did? I just went to Marvel's website where you can see the full list of characters, and I just went through each page.
And
I
you
was
just
like,
look for a name that
I was
you
like,
like.
I
Nice.
recognize that name. Looked at it. Okay.
That reeks of my sister deciding she's a Miami Dolphins fan because she liked their uniform.
Do you want to know how I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan? Because they were the first time I ever watched American football because of my brother-in-law was the Super Bowl that they won.
Super Bowl that they beat the 49ers.
And he was like, which team are you going to root for? I was like, you know what? Baltimore Ravens, because our family crest is a Raven. And then they won, and I've stuck with them since. And they've done shit since.
Do you want to know how I've chosen every single one of my American sports teams that I follow?
Is it by how they win?
Video games.
Ah.
So I chose the 49ers because on one of the Madden demos that me and my brother played, the first Madden demo we played, there was only 2 matchups on it.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to play as the Giants because they were the best team in the game at that point, ironically. And the team that played against the Giants in the demo was the 49ers. So that's who I played as.
Fair.
And then for the NBA, I'm a Utah Jazz fan. I've always enjoyed basketball. It's just really difficult to watch it in the UK unless you want to chalk your sleeping pattern. I downloaded one of the NBA games and I entered the draft. And like in a lot of games, you can go, yeah, I want to be on this team. But for my first one, I was like, oh, I'll just be randomly drafted. And I got drafted by the Utah Jazz. So I was like, fuck it, you my boys. And that is how I'm a Utah Jazz fan.
And that's how we get detoured.
No 2 people with ADHD should be allowed to have a podcast. Shit takes so long.
Need someone who's like keeps shit in check.
Yeah. We need.
So
what you think is we need one of us to get medicated.
Nah, it's boring. So that's our heroes. Our first 4 heroes. There's going to be 8 in total. But the first 4 are villains. So felt like this was appropriate as we're going to be getting an MCU film on it.
Okay.
But I've gone with Agatha Harkness, who I think is also a bit of an anti-hero.
Yeah, you've got different levels of villain. She just kind of does whatever makes her life easier. And if people get in her way or get hurt, that's their problem, not her problem.
Yeah, and I know that she helped train Scarlet Witch a bit. So it's like she sort of helped with one of them. So we've got Agatha Harkness. I thought it'd be cool to kind of put her in the bracket as we are meant to be getting we are getting a film from her. So we'll no doubt MCU fans who aren't big comic book fans will get to know more about her down the line. And then I'm guessing this is the villain that threw you off.
So obviously, I mean, say who it is first.
So after a bit of browsing, I went with Demo Goblin.
Yeah.
Who people are probably like, huh?
Yeah.
Who?
So I wasn't sure if like this was a moniker like the Hobgoblin used for one issue, and you saw it and chose it instead of just writing Hobgoblin or Green Goblin or something like that. But it's really funny because the fandom wiki page that I found for it had it spelt 2 different ways.
Oh, did it?
It had it spelt Demo Goblin, but it also had it spelt Demo Goblin.
Oh, okay.
So shows how well known and well used a character it is, Hori. Yeah, in Weapon.
What I read made out like it had a few. It had enough there that I was like.
I mean, yeah, it just might not have been used for like 10, 15 years, and therefore no one cares about it anymore.
Probably, but it's a Bant's one, and he looks like
we'll just round one. We'll just round one it.
He did. He caught my attention because he does just look like a wild Green Goblin.
Yeah,
which is what he is, but in a sense.
But yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's one to throw in there that might shake things up. You never know.
Once again, I kept it classic.
Okay.
Big angry Russian in a very powerful suit. The Rhino, easy. You know what you're gonna get.
Standard.
Iconic.
Yeah.
Big angry New Yorker who's made of muscle. Kingpin,
Oh,
standard.
okay.
You know what you're gonna get.
Sensing a Daredevil theme.
Yeah. So originally, what my plan was for your villains, I was going hero that fights them the most,
Oh, okay.
and then
I
for
threw you
your
off.
villains, I was going to choose the hero that fights them the most. But yours were like quite obscure, so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it myself. So I chose Spider-Man and then Spider-Man villain, and then Daredevil and a Daredevil villain.
Fair.
Although Kingpin's kind of just a New
Yeah.
York villain.
He is. Okay, so DC is where I struggle more because it's like I know I don't have as wide a knowledge of DC as I do Marvel, and I blame the films.
Oh, 100%. Are you aware that these two people are like part of the same family? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So I'll do the bottom one. So my first DC hero pick, I went with Red Hood, who we've done a character profile on. I'm pretty sure. Oh, we've at least done a character profile on the enough of the Robins. Yeah, we did. Is it Tim Drake?
Jason Todd.
Jason Todd. Tim Drake's the other one, right?
Tim Drake becomes Red Robin.
Okay. So yeah, we've done Red Hood.
In order, you get Dick Grayson, who was the first Robin.
Yes.
He then becomes Nightwing.
Yes.
Then you get Jason Todd. He dies and then becomes the Red Hood.
Yes.
Then you get Tim Drake, who becomes Red Robin, and now we currently have Damian Wayne.
Yeah. So for those of you who've listened, we've done character profile on him. So I went with Red Hood. Pretty standard, more of an anti-hero again.
What's really interesting about the Red Hood is he is something of like a cultural icon for people who enjoy superheroes but don't read a lot of comic books. And I can't put my finger on why. Don't get me wrong, he has a lot of comic book fans themselves. But he's not been around for so long and is so iconic like a Batman or a Spider-Man or anything. It seems to be people kind of latched onto him when he came back.
I think it's also why like I nearly picked Nightwing as well, and I think it's because as someone who is less of a very loose DC comic like knowledge, I know that they came from Robins, and they're like the evolution of a Robin, so to speak. And it's like I think that's why people, because they know Batman Robin, and they're like,
Batman characters have clout.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, Nightwing's just like upgraded Robin. He's like upgraded himself, and then Red Hood's the same. So I think that's
Red Hood is Robin with severe trauma.
Yes. So I think maybe that's why more casual fans latch on. My other DC hero is one I didn't know of.
He's really fucking cool. He's really fucking cool. It's a really cool pick. I like it.
It was like once again looking through the list of whatnot, and I'm like, saw the picture. I'm like, well, that's definitely Batfam, which interests me because I enjoy the Batman stuff, and it's just like when I realized he is basically daytime Batman, and his powers sound fucking wild. So I was like, you know what, we'll go with this, and I picked the Signal.
Yeah, the Signal's fucking awesome. This is genuinely a really good pick.
So that's going to be super interesting one because I only know what I've read. Really.
Yeah.
But it sounded super cool. So what are your hero picks for DC?
My hero picks for DC, although I went really mainstream with my first two Marvel heroes, that was because I knew you had a better knowledge, so you'd be able to do a bit better there. I tried to go a bit more obscure.
Okay.
Not super obscure, don't get me wrong. But I went for Hawkman.
Know of.
Yeah. He's going to be in the new Black Adam film.
Oh yeah, he is, isn't he?
And Blue Beetle, who I did a character profile on a couple of weeks back. Really cool character. I really enjoy him. Especially in the Batman Brave and the Bold cartoon. That was my first introduction to him when I was a little bit younger. So yeah, I thought they'd be.
You know what's funny? I nearly picked Blue Beetle because we did a character profile, and then I was like, Connor likes him. He'll probably pick him, so I'll try and pick someone else.
Yeah, I mean, originally I was thinking of doing a Batfam character as well, but when you came out swinging with two, I was like, we don't need more Batfam characters.
Yeah.
I love how you went Batfam, but avoided Batman because you knew I'd veto it.
Well, I knew you'd go fine if we're having Batman, and you wanted a very specific. You'd want a very specific
I would have
version.
put the Flash in just to make sure Batman doesn't make it out of DC Hero side.
So no, yeah, I nearly went like I was nearly gonna go like Batman and pick like a certain era of Batman or something, but then I was like, so just a bit. It's just too. It's like putting Superman in there. It's like, meh.
The only
So-
way like it really works if you go like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, be OP as fuck.
Yeah.
And notice I didn't say the Flash because Flash solos every comic book character. No one's gonna be able to convince me otherwise. Anyway, DC villains.
Yes, DC villains. So I feel like I feel like we've definitely talked about this one on the podcast before in the past. But I went with Gorilla Grodd. Pretty classic Flash villain. Yeah.
Yeah, mainly. He's fought other people,
I was gonna say
including the Justice League, but he is mainly a Flash villain.
Yeah.
Telepathic, super intelligent ape that wants to turn everyone else into his.
Monkey.
Yeah, he wants to de-evolve everyone back to being apes that he can then boss about.
Yeah. So thought that was a cool one, and then I know him from the Batman games more so. Though I mean I already knew of him before then, but from like the Arkham games, it's probably where like core memory of this character, which is Mr.Freeze.
It's really interesting to me because I think of Mr.Freeze as one of Batman's most iconic villains. But the idea that you know him better through the games rather than just being aware of him like you'd be aware of like the Joker or Penguin is really interesting.
I think I was
to me.
aware of him, but it's like one of those where like I know of them because they're an iconic like villain, but I don't really know much about them. But then playing the Arkham games, you learn more about those villains.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But I've got very Batman heavy with my DC.
Yeah, you have. And this again with like the problem of my tactic of choosing villains based on your heroes and heroes based
just
on your
be
villains.
Batman versus Marvel.
You chose Gorilla Grodd, and I wasn't going to choose the Flash because in my there is no way the Flash can go in a bracket because I am so set that he solos everyone that the bracket pointless Flash is going to win.
And it would probably cause an argument because just for that reason, I would say lose.
And then Mr. Freeze, you already chose 2 Bat Fam, and I couldn't choose another member of the Bat Fam.
Oh yeah, really screwed you.
Yeah, and then Hawkman, I don't know any of his villains really, and Blue Beetle, I don't know any of his villains really. So I end up going Poison Ivy, a Batman villain, but you've got 2 Bat Fam, so 2 Bat Fam villains isn't too bad.
No.
And then Cheetah, who is a Wonder Woman villain.
Oh, don't know Cheetah.
I don't know a lot about her, but I mean, if she's going toe-to-toe to Wonder Woman, she's got to have a bit about her.
This is true.
So yeah.
That's our first
16.
Yeah, first 16 and first 4 in each category.
Yeah. So next week we will announce the other 4.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Over 16.
Next week. Is that another announcement? No, next week's going to be the first round as well.
Well, yeah, we'll announce the full bracket.
Yeah.
And you'll have probably, I imagine you will have done seeding by that point because we'll have our first.
Yeah. I will be seeding them, and we'll be working out advantages and disadvantages and getting this all kicked off. And I'm very excited.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be good.